So good morning. In this video, we will see regarding the Python data types list. So we will see regarding how to store the data in a list, what is the representation of a list, what are the different types of the functions we have, and also we'll see regarding the different types of the methods and the operations we can perform on a list. Coming to the definition of the list, it looks similar to the array in C, where we can store multiple data items. So here the only difference between array and the list is, so the representation is same, but the items you want to store will be heterogeneous elements. That means we can store different data items in one place enclosed within a bracket in a list. So the contains elements separated by comma enclosed within square brackets. So within this bracket, you can store multiple set of elements of different data types. So here I'm creating a simple list, my list. So this is how you can create, give a name, a variable name equal to, and then within this quotation, whatever you mention will be considered as a list. So when the interpreter comes to this particular notation, it comes to know, that means whenever it checks with the brackets, within the brackets, whatever the data you enclose will be considered as a list. So even there is a possibility of creating an empty list, just you can mention the empty brackets. So some variable name var1 equal to empty brackets. This is also called as a list with no elements. So that is why we are calling it as an empty list. And this is a list having the elements. The first element is a string, the second element is a float, the next we are storing some complex number, and then again the float. That means it's a combination or the collection of the different data type elements, right? So which are separated with the comma and enclosed within the square brackets. Coming to different types of the operations you can perform on a particular list, we have the insert and then the append. So insert is used to insert an element at a particular index. So just you can give a name of the list dot function name. This is a method name insert, and then I'm mentioning 1 comma 1 2 3. So before we have the list as ABC as a first element, second element is 20.5, third element is 2 plus 3j, and fourth element is 0.05. So here whenever you mention like insert 1 comma 2, at the first index what I am taking, I am inserting the number 1 2 3. So that's why the ABC will be at the 0th index, and for the first index it will take 123. It will insert a new value 123, and then the comma, the third element, so whatever the element we have at the first index will be shifted to the second index, second element index to the third index, and third element to the fourth index. So it will make a place at the first index, and then it will insert the value 1 2 3. So here what happens is, so first I have A B C D, right? So next to 20.5, and then I have a 2 plus 3j as one element, 0.05 within the brackets. This is a first list I have. So whenever you are performing 1 comma 1 2 3, just what it do is, here list is also considered as a sequential data item. That means every value in index will be having some index value. So based upon the index, you will be accessing the element from the list. The starting index will be the 0, and the last index will be length of the list minus 1. So I have the elements 4. So 4 minus 1 will be the 3. So the last index will be the 3. Last element index will be 3. So now whenever I mention like my list dot insert 1 comma 1 2 3, just it will take A B C D as it is as a string, then it will make a place at the first index, and then it shift this 20.5 to the second index, and then it will shift this 2 plus 3j to the third index, and now this is shifted to the fourth index. So the index of ABC is 1, and this is the first index where the value 1 2 3 has to be inserted. So it will be inserted. Now at 20.5 will be having the index 2 plus 3j will be having index 3, and 0.05 will be having the index 4. So this is how. So now the length of the string has been changed. So that's why we are calling it as a mutable data item. So as the elements are stored in a sequential and accessing in a sequential manner, so this list comes under the sequential data items, right? So as it is storing multiple data items, so it comes under the data structure or data container data types, right? So here we can, this is a notation of the empty list. So I'm mentioning L1 dot insert 1 comma 8. So as there are no more elements, so even though whatever the index you mentioned, it just insert an element into it, that's it. So now whenever you print L1, it is giving 8 as the only one element in the list, it just display 8, right? So now L1 dot insert 0 comma 10. So for this particular list, at the 0th index, what I'm inserting 10, so it goes with the L1 0th index, so it shifts 8 to the first index. Now 10 will be inserted at the 0th index. So this is how you can create an empty list. You can insert the values, or within already available list, if you want to insert any element at any position, you can just mention the index and that particular element what you want to insert. And then there is another method called as append, which will add an item to the end of the list. It will append, it will add on the element to the last index of the particular list. At the last position, it will add the item. So my list mlist dot append, I just mentioned Python. So whenever my list dot append Python, so whenever I print my list, it will print ABCD 1 2 3 20.5 2 plus 3j and 0.05, and now it is printing the Python. It is been inserted the Python to the end. So here we don't mention any index value, you just mention whatever the value you want to append to the list. So it will be appended to the last position of the list, right? So here these two are mainly used for inserting or adding an item to the list. So if you want to have an access to the element in a list, you will be using some index value and then you can access it. So just I have considered my list of 0. So at the 0th index of my list, this is my list, this is an updated my list. So within this particular list, so what is at the 0th index? ABCD. So it has given the output as ABCD. My list of 2, at the second index, what is the value I have? So this is the 0th index, this is the first index, this is the second index. At the second index, I have the value 20.5. So it has given the output as 20.5. So like this, you can use a specific index and you can access whatever the element you want. You can even change the value which is at the specified index. Say I want to change this value. So instead of 20.5, I want some 200.5 or 300.5. say I can do it just by using my list of just 2 equal to, I give that whatever the value I want to update. Now whenever you print my list, it will give the updated value. So first index will be at the 0th index ABCD, and then I have 1 2 3, and then it gives at the second index, instead of 20.5, it gives 200.5, and then some 2 plus 3j, and then it prints whatever the values I have. So here at this particular index, second index, the 20.5 will be replaced with 200.5. So here, so the value of a specific index within a list can be changed. So here list comes under the mutable data types. And then if you want to count occurrence, so within a list or a tuple, if you want to count number of times a particular item has been occurred, you can just mention the list name dot count of. So 20.5 has occurred one time, so it gives output as 1. So if I mention like my list dot count of 10, so is there a 10 within the my list? So is there any value 10? No. So that's why for this it will give the output as 0. So the 10 hasn't been occurred. So that's why the count of 10 is 0 within a list. So the number of times a specific item occurred within a list will be counted using this particular function method counter. And then if you want to find the index of a specified element. So I have only 6 elements here, items here. So instead of 6, if I have some hundreds of elements within or items within a list, in such case, if you want to count, if you want to find the index of specified, then in such case you can use this index. So index helps us to find the index of specified item within a list. So here, if I have a list of student names, from the student names I want to know the within the particular list, I want to know the index of a specified student. So from that, if you want to know, then you can use this particular index method, which will give the output as an index of a specified element or the item within the list, right? So next, this is how you can update, right? So as I already mentioned, so first I have ABCD here. Now when I mention my list of 0 equal to learn, the ABCD will be overridden with learn. So ABCD will be removed from the list. In that place, learn has been updated. So here like this, you can update a specified, or you can change a specified item within a list at any index, whatever the indexes you have. Based upon the length of the list, the indices will be fixed, and based upon the index only, you can change a specified value, right? Next is a slicing list. That means, so I have a large list, I don't want to change or do any modification on the original list. I want to create a duplicate and some small list or the sub list. In such case, you can go for the slicing list. So here you will be having same, whatever the slicing concept we have seen in the strings, the same concept here itself. So we have the end starting index colon, end index colon, and step, right? So this is a slicing syntax. So here the starting index default is 0, end index is length of the list minus 1, length minus 1, step default value is 1. So here if you don't want to start from the starting of the list, you want from the middle or somewhere within the list, in such case you have to mention the index and the end index. And if you want alternate values or every third element, if you want, then you can mention whatever the steps, how many steps you have to perform for each operation, then you can use this step value, right? So my list 1 colon 3 in this case, so this is my list, right? So 0th index, first index, second, third, 4, 5. So here I have considered starting index is 1, so it will start from here. So 123 will be removed will be retrieved for me, and then the end index is 3, so it goes up to 2 only. So 123 will be retrieved, and then it will retrieve 20.5. So this is a sub list. So this is a small part of a list, right? So my list colon 3. So now I haven't mentioned any starting index. So as I have omitted the starting index, it will consider the default starting index as 0. So from here it will go 0. It will retrieve the learn, and then it will go to the first index. It will increment plus 1. It goes to the first index. It will take 123, and it again increments. It goes to the second index, and it will retrieve 20.5. So this is a value. This is a sub list I got from slicing. Here you can even omit the last index also. Just I have mentioned my list to 2 colon. Here what it do is, starting index I have mentioned is 2. So it starts from the second index, goes up to the last index. So 20.5, 2 plus 3j, 0.05, and Python it will print as a sub list. So this is what you can perform slicing on the list. And then if you want to sort the elements in a list, so while sorting, it mainly checks whether it is a homogeneous list or heterogeneous list. If it is a homogeneous list, then it takes less time and it will give the output, right? So it will give the output in a sorted manner. So if it is a heterogeneous, it will first convert some characters into the ASCII values, and based upon the comparison between the numeric and the ASCII values of the characters, it will sort the elements, right? So here I have considered a sorted list to normal numerical list having only the digits. So here this will be converted into this sorted value. So L dot sort, so print L, so sorting first 0, next 1, again there is another one, so it will print 1, again 2, 2 is 2 times, next 3, 3.65, 6, 7, and 23 will be the largest element, so it is at the last of the list, right? So if you want to reverse, that means the list you have, you want it in a reverse order. The last index element in a list should be the first, and the first index element should be the last. So in that case, you can use a method called as a reverse. My list dot reverse. So reverse first, my list had the first what do the my list had, so it will use to reverse the items of a list. So usually we have the Python at the last, now the Python has come to the first position, and then learn 20.5, 123, 2 plus 3j, and then the first element we have 0.05 to the last position, like that. So based upon the it goes reversing of the list. So elements in a list, items in a list will be in a reversed fashion. Next is an extend, so which is used to convert some string into the list. So every character of a string will be considered as one item within a list. So sequence I have considered as hello, my list dot extend of sequence. This sequence will be converted into the items in a list. First H is one item, E is one item, L one item, and L another item, and O as another item. They will be appended as items into the list. So that means at the end of the list, these elements, that means each and every character will be appended to the list. Next, if you want to remove any element from the list, then we have mainly three. One is a property, one is a method, next one is a function. So del is a property which will remove an item from the list using the index value. So if you want to delete any element or remove any item from the list based upon the index, then you can use this del my list of 0. So now from the list, the 0th index element will be removed. No, I don't want to remove a specific element. If you want to remove the total elements of a list, so in that case you can just mention del my list. The elements of it will be cleared, only it will exist as an empty list without any elements within it. So this is regarding the del. And coming to the remove, so here without using the index, I don't know the index of a specified item. I just want to remove the item, but I don't know its index. In that case, you can use a remove. So here we can directly give the name of whatever the item you want to remove. You can mention it and it will be removed from the list. Right? So my list dot remove 0.05. So now the element 0.05 has been removed from the list. And next one is a pop, which is used to remove only the last element. No need to mention any index, no need to mention any item. So just from the list, whatever we have, the last element will be removed every time. So how many times you use a pop, that many times the last element will be removed from the list. So my list dot pop, so what is the last element? It had Python. So whenever you mention my list dot pop, and now you are printing my list, so it has removed Python. So up to 2 plus 3j, up to here it has been given as output, right? So next my list dot pop one, so here you can mention the index. So instead of removing the last element at a specified index, if you want to remove, then also you can use this pop method, right? And coming to the functions in a list, we have a function called as len, which is used to return the length of the list. That means number of items in a list. So I have taken my list. So here number of items 1, 2, 3, 4 items. So len of my list, what it has given output as 4. So if you want to know the maximum and minimum, then in such case, keep in mind that the list should be homogeneous so that it can take less time and it will retrieve the maximum element and minimum element from the list. So if it is heterogeneous, it will consider the ASCII values and then it goes with the comparison. So it takes much time, or sometimes it may give the error. So that's why whenever you are applying the max and the min, just keep in mind that the list is a homogeneous list. So hi A B C D F G H John. Of these four, John is J is having the maximum ASCII value, so it will give the output as John. And min, so A is having the minimum ASCII value, so the minimum value is ABC. Right? So these are all the functions we have. Another function we have is a list, which is used for the conversion of a sequence into the list. Right? So next is operations. We can perform operations like concatenation, repetition. So which is concatenation is for combining the two lists together into one, right? I have a L1 and L2. So 10 Python minus 20 are the elements in the first list and 6.5 learn or the second element. It will, whenever you perform L1 plus L2, first it will print L1 values and then it will append the L2. These are the L1 and then these two are the L2 elements. So first list elements will be appended with the second list elements. That will be the output of concatenation. And the repetition, the elements in the list will be repeated. So if you mention into 2 times the elements will be repeated. If you mention into 8 times the elements will be repeated, like that. So if you want to make the list larger, bigger by the same elements, repetition of the same elements, in such case this repetition operator will help. Right? Next, these two are the important operators in the list. One is the membership and the non-membership operator. Membership operators are in and not in. Membership operators help us to check whether an item belongs to a list or not. Or if you want to check, so if I have a list of 800 students, and from 800 students I want to check based upon the name, is she a student of within a list or not? Is she a student belongs to that list or not? I want to know. In such case, I can just go with the in. So which helps us, which will return true if the item belongs to the list. Otherwise, it will return the false. So there is another one, not in, which is quite opposite to the in. If the element doesn't belongs to the list, it will give the output true. Otherwise, it gives the output as false. Right? Thank you.